What do you mean you got into trouble?
So like trouble is like me ending up in jail, me ending up homeless, me ending up in rehabs, and getting sent to like facilities and stuff.
At
like,
what age?
Oof, the first time I got like introduced to a program, I was 17, man. They were like, yo, I got caught with like drugs, and they were like, yo, this kid needs help or we're going to take him to jail, you know? So like I got introduced to like AA and rehab at like, I think it was 17.
Hi, thank you so much for tuning in to the Inhospitality Podcast, where we talk about everything having to do with the world of hospitality by those who actually make it happen. I'm Ty Justice, and today we're talking to Chef Fernando. Thank you so much for being with us, man.
Thank you for having me,
And
Ty.
bringing the libations.
Of course.
That's great.
Cheers, Ty.
Cheers. Woo.
Pleasure having.
This is going to be fun by the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that's cool and warm at the same time.
Yeah, nice little wake-up call.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's 6 in the morning, folks. We are alcoholics.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world. So
Right.
I'm so glad we finally got to have you on the show. You and I clicked right away. We've worked together, of course. Tell us a little bit about yourself and eventually how you got into hospitality.
Of course. I'm Fernando. I've been in the industry for about 11 years now or so. I'm here in the LA area. I work in Santa Monica with Ty, and it's been a ride.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in the industry, and it's funny, man, because just the other day it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just thinking of how chefs live their daily lives. You know, and like the grind that we do, the hours that we put in, and the amount of attention, the amount of creativity, and like the amount of demand that they need from us, you know, and it's not meant for everybody, but if it's meant for you, you love it.
Yeah.
You know, no matter like the blood, the sweat, the tears, the chaos, the drama, it just pulls you back in every single time, man.
It's like a drug because it's
It
also
is.
something that you're passionate about. See, it's not just, that's a
Yeah.
funny thing, when you're that far into food,
Yeah.
and it's the hospitality industry is one thing, but hospitality and food, I mean, you're basically, no matter how far you get in it, you're like a line cook. You're always on the line. You're making stuff happen. Especially you guys.
Yeah.
When I see you guys work, and I love our kitchen. I love the kitchen at the hotel because whenever you walk back there, it always smells terrific. And I say that because my first property, there was a large hotel because it was a French hotel, and there used to be a pastry chef years before I started there, when the industry was flourishing when it came to their kitchens. So there was not only the regular kitchen, but then there was also a pastry kitchen separate from the regular kitchen. So you had this huge long kitchen and just ovens and all this stuff for confections and all that, but they hadn't used it for years, and they put something called an Orca machine in there. For those who don't know, it's a composter. So it's a composter in your kitchen. So it smelled like hot garbage every day. It was the worst experience inside a hotel kitchen I had ever had because it smelled like death and vinegar all day long, no matter how far or what corner of the kitchen you were in. So every time I walk into the kitchen at the hotel we've worked at, every time I would walk in there, even before I would go home, and I'm going to tell you this, every time everybody's gone, I walk into the kitchen, take a deep breath, and smile, because you guys are always doing something amazing in there. It's always good. You guys, I mean, from top to bottom, you guys are professional and you love what you do.
It's funny because you know, at the hotel, it's I like to call it Mama's Kitchen, even though we're a bunch of grown men. You know, like we call it Mama's Kitchen. Like,
It's all men. That's right.
yeah,
Oh, that's right.
Majority of kitchens is all men,
Yeah.
but we're so comforting, like mothers at the same time, because like I don't know, I know for me, man, like growing up, like as a child, or I could pretty much speak for the mass. Like you smell something, and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. You know,
The
You're-
ratatouille effect.
You're just going straight to the kitchen, no
Yeah.
matter what. It could
Yep.
be something sweet like your mother's baking cookies, and you're just gravitating towards the kitchen.
Yeah.
It could be something that your parents made for you one day, and you're like, oh, I gotta have that, you know. And like, it's funny, like when we cook, or at our kitchen at least, we try to attract you that way. We try to hit your soul, like, yes, like mom,
Yeah.
you know. And it's funny because like a lot of us chefs are like that too, you know. It's funny how, like, I guess you were saying earlier, like what drives us as chefs, you know. And it's really about like the expression, like the expression that you get from other people. As like cliche as it sounds, like that little, oh my god, that's good,
Yeah.
or that's dank, bro.
So he made a focaccia one time, because sometimes, like you said, when you have downtime, this is how you know he's real. When he has downtime, he doesn't rest, and he's on his feet all the time, sometimes 10, 15 hours a day. He's making other things, and you made a focaccia bread. And I personally, I don't eat after a certain time. Like, I don't eat after 5 or 6, so you gave it to me in the evening, so I'm like, I'll save it for tomorrow. So I did, and I ate it cold. And this is the perfect test for any food, is especially in a mama's type kitchen. Like, your parents' food always tastes better the second day. Homemade food always tastes better the second day.
Always.
I had his focaccia cold the next day when my eating window opened, because I fast. And it was delicious. And I remember coming in, I'm like, that focaccia was amazing. When are we putting that on the menu?
Right.
But it was just something you were experimenting with. I'm like, they need that on the menu. It's great.
And you know what I love about like the kitchen too, or at least like the work environment, man? It's like, my employees, or like the people around us, right, are all my guinea pigs. Like, I really don't care. Like, if it sucks, at least that I know, because like at least my flavor might be too enhanced for other people, or like my palate is different than others. So I love practicing on other people. As funny as that sounds, like I always love making food and have other people try it. As long as I get the right validation, I know it's okay.
And see, that's how you know it's not necessarily. I mean, validation and ego-driven are two different things. So a lot of times chefs, especially in hotels, especially in nicer hotels, it's not only about expression, but it's also with them, it's about their ego. So they'll think something's good, and they don't care what you say.
Exactly.
So whenever you would come in, you or the other chefs that are there, and there have been some, though, that won't change the menu no matter what, no matter how much somebody hates something. And at the front desk, we have people complain to us like, this wasn't good. And we would tell said person, the said people, said chefs, and they're like, meh, it stays on the menu. They don't care. No. And whatever you guys would come up with, like, you would take our validation seriously, and you would augment, and then because we're your guinea pigs too, and we love that.
Yes,
we love it. Like, at this hotel with this property with you guys, we love it because it's great. It's a lot of fun, and I'm telling you, Sky and your people do a great garlic fries. You know it's good because they've had it for about a year now, but every time it comes out and we smell it at the desk,
it just never changes. It's something so simple.
It's the same reaction every time with all of us, especially the guys at the desk. We're like, garlic fries.
You know what's funny? So like every chef preaches this. Every chef out there, and like I preach the same thing too, because like, the most simplest things in the world are always the best things in the world. Like, I know like at the level of capacity we cook at work, or like at what we do, it's like, it's a little bit, elevated. It's a lot more technical. It has a lot more pizzazz to it, right? But if you could just get to the nitty and gritty and just see like simplicity, garlic, French fries.
Bam. But some people do that in a way that it's just bland. You guys don't. I've had them, and they're great. And everybody gets, like, they'll get the fries. And oddly enough, this might have been before. It was before I got there, and I think it was before you got there too. Was with the Brussels sprouts.
Oh my god!
It's a very odd thing, but the Brussels sprouts. People that hate Brussels sprouts love those Brussels sprouts.
You know what's really funny?
And the potatoes.
There's, how most like line cooks or most cooks just go and eat the French fry bowl or something like just to snack on. I swear to God, Ty, almost 3 times a week I'm frying myself Brussels sprouts just because it's
so good
fast,
for you.
it's easy, it is better than potatoes, even though it's been cooked in oil for God knows,
But even the potatoes there, like I always tell people, I go, you're gonna love the breakfast here. The breakfast is great. I guide as many people that way as possible, but I go, they make their own raspberry compote. I go, and my line is this, and it's true. I go, every hotel says their food is good. Nah. I go, ours, trust me, is like, I brought my mom in a few times. She loved it. It's mom approved. And which is true. Approved. Which is true. Yeah, exactly. Mom approved. Have you brought your folks in?
I have. So I had a chance to bring him in for Mother's Day. So this is when I had just came on board.
Yeah.
So I came on board sometime in February of 2023.
Okay.
Like, I was part of the sister company first, and then, I was able to have an opportunity there at the, at the hotel, and it was around Mother's Day, and I was like, well, fuck it, the hotel's kind of nice, and I love the menu that we're doing. I'm proud of like the stuff that we're doing, and invited my parents over, and they're like, I'm so proud of you, son. You know, because I came from the gutters kind of thing,
Yeah.
Ty, you know, and like I was just such a knucklehead and such a dipshit kind of thing, you know, but
Teenage dirtbags.
right,
That's
you
what
know,
we're
like
doing.
sometimes we don't grow up, you know,
Right.
and like, you know, we're just rebels with a cause or
Right.
just rebels just cause, you know,
Right.
that's me, you know, and sometimes I have no reason, but it's funny. So like I invited them for Mother's Day brunch, and by far our breakfast, and I don't want to sound cocky or take credit for what we do there, but holistically as a team, like our breakfast is pretty fire.
It is. It is good.
pretty
It's not. It's
fire.
not a. It's not a buffet. It's like
Yeah.
a restaurant. You know, you don't have to stay there to go and eat. It's great. But no.
No,
It's. I know it
and-
sounds like a commercial. God.
It's so
We're
funny
so
because
cornball.
like, so food is, if you appreciate food for what it is, right, and you like really take the time to like eat your food and see how your food works, right, you would appreciate it in such a weird way that like it makes sense to your head.
Yeah.
You know, so like how we cook at work, right, it's a lot like we'll take your most basic thing, like let's say our potatoes, because people love our potatoes.
Yeah.
You know, for some odd reason, right?
They're good.
But most people would take, or most diners just take potatoes and deep fry them, and that's it, right? But you get no like extra layers of texture, flavor, consistency, right? So like our chef had taught us like technique, right? So like he taught us a technique where if you cook the potato first, and I'm not going to give any secrets
No,
away,
we can't.
right?
Unfortunately, otherwise I'd be doing this at home
Right, you know, and
after the
so
camera stop rolling.
right, I'll make you some potatoes, Ty, don't worry, you know.
I'll have to be blindfolded. But,
Right.
It's all right.
So you just add a little technique. So like it's simple. Like our potatoes are so crispy in the outside, but yet soft and mushy like mashed potatoes in the inside, right? Like how do you mimic that, right? You just got to give it love, man. You give it a little bit of attention and a little bit of technique, and bam, you got yourself a wonderful product.
They're
you know,
really good. I wish we would have brought some for a sample just to show the cameras.
man.
But hey, you know what? If you have
for
pictures,
another live set,
oh my God,
I'll do a live demo cooking for you one day, Ty.
You know what?
I'd love that.
I'm going to take you up on that. That's not a bad idea. I hope everybody would love to see him cook. I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm going to secretly record you. I'm just be like, "Yeah, what's up today?" Just
Oh,
at
Chef
work.
Fernando is making. Oh wow, what is that?
Oh man, but
Man.
no, it's you know what? You're not bragging either, and it's true. The food there is really good, and we talk about expression. Signature
Right.
is another thing a lot of chefs talk about, and I think you guys walk that fine line between brand and personalized. So because you have to
time.
do, you have to do the brand of the hotel, the brand of your chain, whatever it might be. And then you have to put your spin on it too, because you don't want to just be a robot, frying up burgers and stuff like that
Right.
necessarily. Not that there's anything wrong with being a fry cook or anything like that, but with what you're doing at hotels, to be able to put your signature on it, please everybody, that's a tall
Right.
order.
And you know what's funny? Like, most in the eyes of hotels, right? Because I've worked for hotels for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
Like from my first property to my
That's about me
property that
too.
I'm in now.
5 years out.
And it's funny because people look at hotel food, or actually guests, they see hotel food as mainly as an amenity. They have something, so they don't really expect the best, And even as a traveler myself, like, so I'll go to hotels, whether from your low end to your high end, and I always look at the restaurant and I see pretty much the same menu, right? But like I look for the twist. But if it's something that's kind of consistent, I shy away and stay away,
Yeah.
right? And most people do. But for what we do, it's like, we bring that attention to you. You say, oh wow, they actually have the same similar foods, but that sounds lovely at the
Yeah.
same time. They're
Yeah.
playing with what? They're doing what? And it's so funny because what we do is like, we like to utilize your brain and what what you're comfortable with. And usually when you're traveling to a destination, especially like Los Angeles or big cities, you already know mentally like the hot spots you want to travel to. And hotel food is like your second, third. Okay, I'll just get breakfast there,
Well, it's, if even that.
or
so-
even the
yeah.
bar. I just need a burger or something.
Usually it's mostly they're like, we're going to get a drink at the bar. It's not
Something
like,
fast.
let's go do, my mom, I
Yeah.
remember she was talking about back in the 70s, 80s,
Mm-hmm.
she would go to, her friend would take her to like the Ritz-Carlton in
Nice
Pasadena.
hotels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice. So they would go there, and they would go to eat because they would have buffets, and it would be very nice. Hotels don't really do that anymore, at least in Southern California. It's kind of a lost art. So now it's basically cookie cutter, like you were saying, and it's nothing special. So, and like I said, I've worked in multiple hotels, and the hotel food is usually bland. It's an amenity. It's just something that you don't think of, but it's like, well, if I have to, I have to.
Yeah.
This one's different. That's what I always like about it, and that's why I always honestly recommend it to guests that check in. Like, oh, because I work the front desk, so I'm like, you got to try our restaurant. It's great. It's something you're supposed to do, but it's hard. It's harder when you know the food isn't good.
Or when the food sucks.
When it sucks, you're just like, if you want to catch a bite and some salmonella, you just go right ahead, go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
But no, with this one, it's different. You know what I mean? It keeps it, and it's honest. And it's
it is funny too, man. And it's like not to degrade other hotels or like put other food down and stuff like that. It's just funny because like a lot of it comes from like within, you know, who you are as a chef or who you are as a person in the kitchen, and sometimes like you're working with nothing and trying to produce something. Sometimes like we're working as chefs, like we're getting cut budgets and stuff and trying to make greatness, and we're like, well, that's now the trick. How do I make something of shit into something of greatness?
What do they say? Spinning gold out of yarn or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying to make magic happen.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing that's the problem too. Cut budgets and things like that, because hotel management isn't going to think of the restaurant if it's not a booming, jumping place with a named chef, which a lot of hotels do. They're like they give little thought to it without any understanding of what you guys have to go through to make it special. So they're like, well, keep people coming back. Well, the food's got to be good, but you have to have the materials. Just like at the front desk and housekeeping, you have to have the supplies to make people happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same thing with the kitchen. You got to have the right supplies, and if you don't, luckily your team will be skilled enough to be able to make magic happen. You know what I mean? But it's exhausting when you have to do that. But no, kudos on you guys, because you do a great job. I mean, I don't know any hotel that I've worked at where the employees want to order from the kitchen so much, not only because it's convenient, but because they enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's
really
it's good.
Funny because we get both ends at the hotel. So there's like a little secret I'm going to say, like about our cafeteria food, right? Like, because how we feed the employees.
Yes.
Y'all are spoiled too. Because, most chefs aren't like, involved with the cafeteria.
It's gotten better. It's gotten better in the last year.
You know what's
since
actually
you got
funny?
there.
It's like, so my first guinea pigs is the cafeteria.
Us.
Because it's free.
It's free. It's the employees.
And it's like kind of like free game, and like, so like, and I love like teaching like the next person too, like for me food is more than just something you consume. I find it like a very holistic thing, man, and
it's something you experience, hopefully, and on multiple levels.
Yeah, man, and it's so weird because like I have this weird thing, or like you kind of learn this in school too, like as you grow as a chef, like as vegetables grow, chefs grow. But in order for vegetable grows, you got to plant seeds. So you plant seeds by like planting it into the next like cook or the next chef, weird, right?
Is it paying it forward?
Paying it forward, right? So a lot of times at work or with like younger cooks, man, like I love taking them under my wing and like playing with recipes with them, like utilizing their brains while I'm utilizing mine, and just like creating something crazy, and if it works, cool, it's something good and we can work with, and it's like now like he learned something, so now that hopefully opens up his mind, so when he creates new dishes for himself or for his family or for whoever, that like there's like that constant like growth of like that culinary
instinct,
magic.
Yeah.
Guru,
it is an instinct, though. It's an instinct that goes over time. Like they say, only a poor craftsman blames his tools. So,
oh God.
So and speaking of tools, I love that. You're inked.
Oh,
but
it's funny.
I don't know what camera, if we can show that, but he's got some great knives, and those aren't meant to be a threat. As you can see, there's like a wreath around them, but it shows that how much he loves what he does. And the knuckles say chef.
You want to know why I got this tattooed on my hand?
Show us.
So it's funny. I had a therapist tell me one time why I love like war and military movies and like heavy rock and heavy metal. It's like, because your life was chaotic.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
If learning about me growing up and stuff, like I did kind of grow up in a troubled childhood,
So let's talk about that. Let's talk
Yeah.
about you growing up. Now we'll get back to food because it does circle around, which is
Oh,
I think
man,
is
big time.
I think is a very beautiful thing, honestly, because I have a special relationship with food for similar reasons. You and I were both raised by single moms.
Yeah, big
correct.
time.
So let's get into yours. I'll chip in every once in a while,
Yeah.
but tell us your beginnings.
Yeah, man. So it's funny because like every time I go to interviews and stuff, they always ask me the first question, like, so how'd you get into food, right? So I always say, like, it was my mom growing up, and she was a single mother, and we were going through tough times, and like I remember my first Mother's Day gift I gave her was I was gonna cook her breakfast, and I was like maybe like not 3 years old. That's too young. I was probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of coherent, but I also felt like as a person, I was a lot older for my age, like I felt like I wasn't who I was. I was like 6 or 7 years older.
Yeah. Well,
a
lot of people say that doctors have found and professors and studies have found that comes from trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not to dog my parents
No,
or like
no.
or nothing. It was just like, yeah, man, I had a tough time, like there was abuse, both ends, and but I felt like that's what made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get me wrong,
No.
I was victimized for some time, thinking like, oh, my childhood like fucked me up, and like I made bad decisions because of that. Nah, man, as I like grew up and like understood, like I made bad decisions because I made bad decisions.
It's true. And the thing is, at first, that's the thing too. People, and I found this to be more helpful than not in one of the same situations. It's true. You look at it from just you look at it from a purely scientific perspective,
Right.
and just take yourself out of it, and like, yeah, you made certain decisions because of certain things that did happen to you in your childhood. Yeah,
Right.
but those decisions are made.
Yeah,
It's like we
they're
did
already
it.
done.
We did it. That happened. We learned. The important thing is we learn from
Yeah.
them. And I always tell people this: like, look, sure, blame your parents, blame this, blame
Yeah.
that, then forgive them.
Exactly.
Because just like you don't know what you're doing now, they didn't know what they were doing then.
Yeah,
We don't know what we're doing now. We screw up. They
Right.
screwed up the same way. There's no guidebook.
And it's so funny because like I look at my parents today because I'm a lot older now, right? I'm not too old, but I'm a lot older, right?
Right.
And
Older than 6.
right, older than 6, but 6-year-old brain versus adult brain,
Right,
right? Adult brain was like, I'm still fucking up as an adult, right?
Yeah.
For lack of better terms, like not fucking up like I don't have my money right or anything, but it's just like we still figure out life as we're growing and evolving, and we like things, we don't like things, and then when you bring children into the picture, it's like you're teaching them for the best capacity that you have,
Right.
and like whether that's left or right or wrong or whatever, it's just like we're human.
Yeah.
We do the best we can.
And what do they say? You can't pour from an empty cup. It's like
You
you
can't.
can't be given what they were never given and didn't have and aren't aware of.
It's like if we put ourselves in today's situation, right, and today's standards and where we're at today, it's like,
Damn it.
damn it, I should have.
Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is
Right.
always 2020.
Right.
But yeah, but from that, we grew up in a lot of ways where it's kind of the same thing. I went through that period too, where I was just like, my life is the way it is
Right.
because of A, B, and C. But
Right.
you learn that over time, that kind of saves you, because you look at people that go through a traditional life, and their life is a train wreck, and you're like, well, I could have went that way and done things the right way, quote unquote, right way, and still ended up worse than where I am
Yeah,
now.
it's like what is the right way?
Exactly.
It's like it's funny because like so people talk about the right way, or they say find your way, right?
Yeah.
Whether you make bad decisions or good decisions, man. Because like I'll tell you this, man, from teenagehood to about my young adulthood, I was all up. I was 100% up, dude. Like constantly in trouble, constantly in, like going to places and getting sent away.
To jail, juvie, things like that.
Yeah, and just being an idiot, just doing dumb shit just because like I felt bad as a person, or like I felt like I got dealt the wrong hand, or like I felt like I wasn't approved by society, or like school didn't accept me for who I was, and it's kind of funny because like that's kind of the image of a chef, like I don't want to say we, but like I know for me it was like I felt like I'm right where I need to be at. Like I'm surrounded by like a lot of guys with similar backgrounds, similar upbringing, similar, just a lot of similarities, man.
Similar histories.
But like we all have the same passion. And I think it's more than just food. I think it's like longing and searching for a form of like togetherness, or a form of like yeah, it's hard to describe that part,
Well, it's funny. You said you grew up watching your mom cook. I grew up watching my
Yeah.
mom cook, and your mom worked, right?
Yeah, big time.
My mom worked too.
Yeah,
But
two jobs sometimes,
yeah, exactly. So but when they would cook, like it would be on the weekends for me mostly.
Right.
My mom cooked throughout the week, but then on the weekends it was like then she'd make her special stuff because she had the time, and then
Right.
kitchen music on, doing her thing, and food. A lot of times in certain situations, especially if you're poor, I'm going to say it that way. If you grow up poor,
If you grew up a little poor,
if you're
do
broke,
yeah.
poor, in other countries, third world countries, it's the same thing. If they have food is a translation, or excuse me, food translates to love.
Love.
And I think a lot of times we try to give, well, chefs, I don't know, like again, I don't want to speak for all, but a lot of times it feels to me like when I cook for someone special, girlfriend, whatever, friends,
Right.
people I really love and care about, my mother,
Yeah.
anything like that, even my dogs. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
and
It's
I'm
like,
not gonna like my little girl Cassie. She eats just as good as Daddy does.
That's
you know,
right,
if
that's
Daddy's
right.
cooking a nice New York, she's gonna have some of that too. You know,
exactly.
My dog is spoiled. She's actually had Wagyu.
My dogs too. I had like leftovers one time, and I had a steak. I'm
Yeah.
like, the steak is for my dogs now.
Yeah,
But it's a translation of love. You want to find the love you felt you didn't have sometimes.
Exactly.
You want to give you want to find it for yourself through giving that to others. And
Exactly.
food being I think it's one of the basic human needs.
Yeah.
And giving that to someone and having them just truly appreciate it and be blown away and thank you for it is that validation. A lot of times, I think people and we didn't get or
search
didn't
for.
have. Yeah.
And you know what's funny, right? And I tell this to everyone. It's not the money that we're being paid for the job, even though it's kind of shit. I mean, like
For the hours.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I wanted more money, I would have probably went to college and done something different, right? But I
then
think,
be in terrible amounts of debt.
and I probably wouldn't be on this podcast, either, and I'd probably, but it's kind of funny because for me, and I'll just speak for me, I just look for that, as like cliche as it sounds, that little sparkle, that like, oh, I like that shit. Like, ooh.
When it stops a conversation, they're like, oh. And they look down
I
at their
had to
food.
think about it for a second because,
Yeah.
like when I get that reaction or I get that little, like, you can almost feel an energy and aura arise. You're like, wow. Like, as weird as this sounds, I touched your soul.
Yeah. That's so sweet, man. No, that's
cool
true.
because, like, because I feel like I gave you my heart,
Yeah.
like I tried so hard, my attention to detail, and like making sure like I'm giving you the best of my best every single time.
Yeah.
And,
Giving everything. Yeah.
and usually that correlates, and sometimes I know and like I fuck up, and as chefs we fuck up.
Oh, you're human.
We're human. Like we fuck up a steak or we fuck up a fish or we fuck up a recipe, especially in the beginning stages of development, like when we're developing new recipes or new menus, right? And it almost hurts our soul.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're not just
And
like,
it's just like a constant like seeking, and it's funny. So like going back to like growing up and stuff like that, and so how I found the love for food was that simple smell of my mom cooking in the kitchen too, and then that boiled to like me wanting to experiment with food. And I'll tell you a little funny story, and it's something really fucking stupid, but I don't know what in my mind thought like warming up Starburst and fucking putting them in my mouth would be so good.
like cooking.
Yeah, like cooking. Like I didn't know how to cook, but I thought like the ooey and the gooiness, like it was just gonna like explode, right? Like some gastronomy food, right?
Right.
No, that shit burnt the shit out of my mouth, dude, and I think that thing coated over my tongue.
Everything tastes like Starburst now.
But
Everything.
but you know what's like the crazy part about that? I wanted to play more with food.
Yeah.
And then like I started doing all kinds of weird shit, like cooking sandwich meat, like ham, because we were poor too.
Yep.
I was cooking ham and putting cheese on top and seeing it melt. I'm like, yo, like this is cool.
Yeah.
And,
Kids experiment. Kids don't know. You don't have the groundwork for it, Yeah.
So like I was that weird kid, right? As a kid, like there was two things I liked playing with. Like I was for sure a G.I. Joe's kid and Hot Wheels kid. Like I love playing war and street racing, but I also loved the Easy Bake Oven.
Oh yeah.
Like I didn't tell nobody just because like I felt like my friends would beat me up and shit.
Right.
Like
Peer
oh,
pressure.
you're playing with brownies, you princess.
Right. A girl's
You
toy,
know,
yeah.
girls' toys. And I'm like, nah, man, it's just like I'm making
Food.
like food, and this is good to me, you know.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you said like food relates to love, and then also food can kind of relate to like status quo.
Yeah.
You know, because
yeah.
we kind of grew up poor for a while, you know, and like not having any money, eating what we can, you know, and like it's funny, like nationality wise, I'm Filipino, right? There's a reason why our food is super salty, super acidic, and
Spam.
super, right? It's because we need to preserve that shit. You know, we need to preserve it so we can last and make, you know, eat it longer.
Yeah.
You know, and the status quo was third world country,
Yep.
you know, and like eating it today is like, oh shit, this is fire as what are you talking
Now
about?
it's now it's
now
trendy.
it's tradition
Yeah,
and, and trendy, and people go for it, you know?
Excuse me. No, it's true. Yeah, because I had one of my exes was Filipino, and there's a lot of spam. There's a lot of spam to use. And I'm like, I've never had this
Filipino
much
breakfast
salt at one time.
Oh god, it's 100% sodium. It's just sodium and like cartilage or whatever the hell they
Some
make
of it's
that
so
shit with.
good though. My God.
I'll tell you what, man, like spam, eggs, rice, and some tomatoes in the morning. Cure any hangover.
The morning, yeah. Speaking of which,
Right.
cheers too. Hopefully,
Cheers
get
to you,
some
Ty.
spam in the morning.
Yeah.
One of the best things I remember growing up, and is when Mom had time, but is waking up to the smell of your mother cooking.
Oh god,
smell of food in the
pancakes,
house,
bacon,
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, bacon.
Oh,
my
God.
Yes.
I don't know how many
Potatoes.
times I'm just sticking my hand in there, just eating strips of bacon.
You know what? I still can't cook because I love to cook, but I still can't cook potatoes like my mom. She fries when she fries potatoes. She does it a certain way, and mine never come out that way. I'm just like, and she's tried to show me. I can't do it like her.
You know what's funny? As a professional chef, right? A guy who's been in the industry and cooks professionally, right? There's still some recipes my mother makes I can't replicate.
Is that, you think that's like a subconscious block
It
we
is
have?
so
I don't know
crazy.
what it is.
So I'll tell you this. So like a simple lumpia recipe, right? Which is a Filipino egg roll. It's got meat. It's got a mirepoix. It's super simple, right?
Delicious.
There's something that my mom does to hers that does not taste like mine. And I'm like, I'm doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if your hands has more salt than my hands or you know, like there's just, and then my mom always tells me, she's like, it's just a mother's touch. And I'm like, well,
I'm telling you, I tell my mom to be as healthy as possible for as long as she
Right.
can. I go, because look, I'm not going to be able to cook those for my kids. I go, you need to, when my kids come along, you're going to need to cook those for them.
we need you to train them.
Exactly.
in the
Maybe it'll
same
skip
tradition.
a generation, and my kids will be like the potato
Yeah.
gurus. But no, that's that's the magical thing about it. It's not just cooking for a paycheck. See,
No.
there is a lot of the old trope of like, well, it's made with love.
Yeah.
There's something to that.
Always. And you know what's funny, man? Whether I'm cooking for guests, I'm cooking for a chef table, I'm cooking for a banquet or a wedding, or just even for my family, for my chick or my daughter or somebody, you know, like the number one ingredient I always try to use is love, as cliche, as lame, as whatever you want to say, because love is more than just like a one-worded expression.
Yeah.
You know, love is an action word. Love is what you want to bring, you know? And like, if I'm not giving it 100%, then it's like, food's not going to come out good.
Yeah.
You know, or, I mean, sometimes you give it your 100%, it doesn't come out good, but you're trying,
Yeah.
you know? But I feel like the moment you give it your love, you're giving more than just a good food product. You're giving them who you are as a person, you know? Like
Part of
you're giving,
yourself.
yeah, man, and I try to give a little part of myself in every dish I make, you know, whether it's, you know, it's just hard to describe, man. I just try to give them a little piece of Chef Fernando,
Yeah.
you know, and I give them a little memory or give them a flashback of, oh, my mom made that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I have actually a funny story, and I hope you know, if you guys are watching or the person who told me this, I had, you know, this other Filipino man, because at one point in my career I was doing meal preps, you know, and I was a lot in better shape, and like I was writing macros and doing the whole ordeal, you know, and bodybuilding, and
What was your top weight, just so we know?
oh man, I think the best I was like 185 at like maybe 14 to 15% body fat.
That's pretty good.
Like I had a good physique. I mean, I was in the early stages of like wanting to get bigger and bigger, but what happened was I became a titled chef.
Gotta test you gotta test everything, man.
And all that kind of just went down the drain.
Right
you
out the
know,
window.
but-
For the best reasons, though.
for the best reasons, But I had this gentleman tell me one time I made a double better than his mother.
Wow.
And I told him, don't you ever
Never
say
say
that
that
to
again.
your mom or to me ever again, because I feel like now I'm a target.
Right.
But like,
It's gonna be a Filipino woman just like with a spatula. and a
yeah,
bag just
or
waiting
like
for you.
the rice or like the string whips and oh god, everything I can remember my mom used to beat me with, and
Oh, I used to get wooden spoon. I had a wooden spoon broken on me.
oh god, what
Yeah.
did I get? I can't say because I feel like my dad's watching and he's gonna come back and hit me as an adult. He's like, go ahead and say it again, buddy.
Yeah. Internet is forever.
Right? I got this shit saved. But
On repeat. It's now my ringtone. You're gonna get it every time
I'm
somebody
like,
calls me.
Man, I'm like, I'm a something-year-old man and he's still kicking my ass and he's smaller than me.
does that work?
What the No,
Oh, my
but
God.
and it's like a lot of it, man, and like for me, like I really love attracting what they're used to. Whether it's a certain flavor, a certain smell, a certain like reaction, because food for me is deeper than just like food, or it tasting bomb, or food is good when you're drunk at 2 a.m.
Right. Or 6 a.m.
Yeah, like I find food is like almost a way of life, man. Because like if you don't eat food, you're dead.
Yeah.
So like I feel like food produces life somehow.
Yeah.
And it almost raised me because like going back to like my upbringing and like how I made it into the kitchen, right? For a long time, like I thought I was gonna be a service member. Like I thought I was gonna be an Army Ranger or join the Marine Corps. But like, so my whole focus was joining the Air Force because, my stepdad was in the Air Force and like I had this weird like soldier complex growing up. Right. So it was something I wanted to do.
Right.
But while I was in high school, like I was still living like a few different lives. Like I was a fucking idiot, dude. So I was like doing drugs all the time. And like I got introduced to drugs like at a young age. I was like probably doing drugs by the time I was in 8th grade, like 13 years old, 14
Like
years old.
when you say drugs.
Ooh, so for me, it started out with alcohol around 10, and then it was like pot at like 12, 13, and then like I was taking ecstasy and cocaine by like 15.
Wow.
Or 16 years old.
Sounds like my father. Yeah, he started.
Yeah,
as well.
man, I was like doing pills like left and right because like at my time, like the rave scene was huge, and like for me too, man, from like I just wanted to be accepted by my crowd.
Yeah.
And like I got along with all the shitheads. And like so I got that validation from them. So
It's funny how easily that comes. Yeah.
right, like
getcha.
when everybody else is doing bad, then like you just kind of like gang up, and like I was involved with like kind of like the wrong people too, so like I was involved with like wanting to live a certain lifestyle, so I got into like certain things, and then like it all led me into eventually a lot of trouble.
Well, what do you mean you got into trouble?
So like trouble is like me ending up in jail, me ending up homeless, me ending up in rehabs, and getting sent to like facilities and stuff.
At
like,
what age?
Oof, the first time I got like introduced to a program, I was 17, man. They were like, yo, I got caught with like drugs, and they were like, yo, this kid needs help or we're gonna take him to jail, So like I got introduced to like AA and rehab at like I think it was 17.
Should you be drinking right now?
Right,
No,
but
I'm just kidding.
no, it's funny because like, dude, I was like an active AA member for some time, like I was going to the meetings and staying abstinent and stuff, but I got my own opinion on that. But
Sure.
at that time, man, like I didn't know that like, so for when I come to realize, right, was like I used drugs and alcohol as a solution to life. Like that was my biggest thing, man. Like I just wanted to numb myself. I wanted to get rid of like how I felt,
The pain.
and there was like I wouldn't say a lot of pain I was going through, but there was a lot of traumatic events. There was a lot of,
Well,
things.
it's pain of a different. It's pain of a different kind.
Yeah,
right? I would
man.
definitely see it because that longing creates this kind of emotional pain. And just to kind of not segue, but just to kind of talk about that a little bit. I don't think as men we have proper outlets, especially when we're raised by single moms and we don't have our fathers
Oh,
around
yeah.
all the time. Nothing to knock our mothers, but
Right.
a lot of times we don't have other men to bounce this off of. And like you just to ask, am I okay? Am I feeling? Are my
Right.
feelings valid?
Right. And
From
you know
another
what's
man.
funny? And like, so I see seek that through like older people that like my cousins, you know, like, you know, lack of better terms, like the gang of the neighborhood, you know.
Right.
Like I remember at 10 years old, like thinking about joining a gang, and I'm like, what the fuck am I thinking?
Because it's not about the violence. It's not about drugs.
It was
it's
about being belonged.
Yeah, belonged,
Yeah.
and sometimes you need. And I'm going to say this. It sounds. Sometimes you need. I'm going to say this, even though this sounds maybe a little off, but sometimes you need other men to kind of say, like, you know, am I okay? Is this right?
Is this right?
Is this
Some
right?
kind of guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you don't have it as an everyday thing with a father figure around, you seek it in
Right.
other ways, like gangs. Because I grew up in the same areas, in similar
Mm-hmm.
areas, and a lot of times, boys are seeking that out. That kind of natural thing that boys need when they're getting into their adolescence.
And it's funny too, man, because like I don't know, like at least for me, like when I was growing up, right, I used to like flashy things, you know, especially like so I used to get validations from like older people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, validation was like I see guys with money, cars, women,
Yeah.
drugs, like the entourage, like this like high like class living, you know, and like that shit was attracted to me.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, yeah, I like having money. Yeah, I like doing drugs. Oh yeah, I love women.
Women,
You
yeah.
know, like I get that on the daily doing what I do.
Yeah.
Dude, send it, you know, and
Right.
and slowly like you develop and then you like kind of find that life and then you get involved, you know, and then you know, for most cases, or at least for me, like that shit ran quick.
Yeah.
You know, like the moment like I started getting involved, it was like the moment I started getting in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, and like to fast forward a few things, right? So my first thing was like I was enlisted in the Air Force, right? And I was fully invested in joining in the Air Force.
So when did this happen? How
I
old were
was
you?
about 16 when I signed the paperwork, and I knew I was going to go in at 17.
Okay.
So like I was going to graduate high school, do the whole deal, because I was 100% committed of doing 21 fucking years.
So you were involved
Yeah.
in the rave scene and all that, and then you just decided one day, or did
Yeah.
you always know, no matter what was going on?
No matter what was going on, that I was going to join the military.
Gotcha.
No
So
matter what.
When you enlisted, were you still involved in the drug culture?
So I stopped for a little bit just because I got caught.
Okay.
Yeah,
Scared you
so-
straight a little bit.
Yeah, so I got caught by my parents actually, and they found my fucking shoebox.
Oh, not the shoebox.
I call it the
Oh,
shoebox
boy.
of love, man. It was a Vans shoebox, and
Of course, it's a Vans shoebox.
yeah, dude. I mean, if you're from the like L.A. area or the South Bay, you know, like Vans was like a big thing.
They're
you
a
know?
staple.
And like I was a skateboarder too growing up, and
They're a skater brand. Yeah.
and I had everything not everything, but like you had things that you could see, you know, and like they were more mad about me not using the drugs. It was me doing other things with the drugs, you know.
Okay.
It was like
Yeah.
and then I understand, and then they were actually really mad because like I also have Asian parents, bro. So like Asian parents finding out your kid is doing X, Y, and Z, and my stepdad is he's from St. Louis, Missouri. You know, a white guy, kind of privileged. Like they weren't happy with what they found, you know,
Yeah.
and they also found a lot of other things. So I was like, you know what, like I'm young, I'm stupid, like I'll just give this shit up. You know, like I'll give it up because like my dream is to join the military, try to be the best, like, you know, airman as I can be, and like just try to be the best person as I can be. Because like even at that age, at 16, man, like I knew I was like doing something wrong, you know, and I
Right.
knew that like this is either gonna be my pinnacle moment. I'm either gonna be a fuck up or I'm gonna succeed.